Hey guys, Mallory here. So today I thought I would do a very requested video, not necessarily by subscribers, but by everyone I know, pretty much. So this video is going to be all about how to conceal dark bags under your eyes, prevent your under eye concealers from creasing for mature skin. So mature skin is usually those of us over the age of 30. I'm kind of in the middle zone right now. I'm not like the classic mature skin, which I would consider like 45 plus, but I'm definitely not youthful, young, radiant, creaseless skin by any means. So let's just dive into the video. So these techniques can actually be used by anybody. If you are like 19 years old and you suffer from these issues, then this stuff works for you as well. So stick around if you are 19 as well, okay? So first, this doesn't have anything to do with our under eyes, but the foundation does. So we're just gonna apply some primer. The primer I'm using today is the e.l.f. Poreless Face Primer. I always forget the names. So when applying foundation, make sure to skip the under eye area because we want to have as little product there as possible. We don't want anything building up. So I'm using the Smashbox Studio Skin 15-Hour Wear Foundation. This stuff is awesome. So I'm just going to apply this using a beauty blender and press this into the skin. And just making sure to avoid where I'm going to cover my under eyes. So now moving on to the actual under eyes, we are going to start by hydrating. You want to make sure that your under eyes are moisturized so they're not dry, because the drier they are, the cakier and crustier and old and bleh they're gonna look. So today I'm using the Beam Team Hydrate and Glow from the Estee Edit. So this stuff is a moisturizer and an illuminator. So by adding a slight highlight underneath our concealer, it's going to look even more moisturized. It's going to look even more youthful. And this stuff is extremely light, so it's not going to add, you know, a bunch of texture and layers to the look. So I'm taking the smallest amount, and this is for both eyes. So I'm just going to apply that with my fingers and pat that in so that it's nice and moisturized and hydrated. So next, this step can be skipped if you don't have dark circles. If you just have creasing problems, then you can wait until the next step because you don't have to worry about this. But if you do have dark circles under your eyes, then you're gonna wanna use a peach concealer. If you are medium skin toned, like medium to dark, you're going to want to use an orange concealer, and if you are extremely dark, then you're going to want to use a red concealer. So because I'm on the lighter end of the spectrum, I'm using a peach concealer. This one is by Urban Decay. It is the Naked Skin Color Correcting Fluid in the shade Peach, as I said. So you only want to apply this where you actually have dark circles. So if you have them everywhere under your eyes, then apply it everywhere. If you only have it right here, which is what I have, then I'm only going to apply it the tiniest bit, like don't goop it on, the tiniest bit on where I have that discoloration. Because again, we don't want to have a whole bunch of product on our face. So now again, we're going to use our beauty blender and just blend that in. So next for concealer, this is where I get a little different from some other beauty gurus. So instead of using a cream concealer, I'm actually going to use, a cream or liquid concealer, I'm actually going to use a stick concealer. So this is my favorite. It is the Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Concealer. And this is in the shade Light. And the reason why it's not porcelain or ivory is because I don't want it to be lighter than my skin, because if you have very dark circles, if you use a concealer that's light to highlight that area, that is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to highlight it. With most concealers, your dark circle will actually come right through. The concealer won't be enough to really hide it. So by using a skin or your skin colored concealer, like your actual skin tone, that is actually going to cover it. It's not going to draw attention to that area, and it's really going to mask that dark circle. And the other reason why I use a stick concealer instead of a cream is because it moves around so much less. If you find when you apply the liquid concealers, even before you get the chance to put your powder on, it has already seeped into a lot of your lines. Whereas these stick concealers, if you don't set them, they will do that as well, but way less and not anywhere near as fast. So I think these are a lot better for us that have wrinkles and fine lines under your eyes. It doesn't look as cakey, and it just looks a lot nicer and smoother, and it doesn't blend and smudge into those fine lines. So again, we're not going to apply a ton. I know this does look like a lot, but with a stick concealer, it's not that much. So now you can use your finger or you can use your beauty blender, however you feel, and just blend that in. And if you think you need a little more coverage, then please, by all means, go back in and add a little more, but I recommend just spot treating it. So if you do have a little bit of a shadow still right here because you have puffiness, then what you can do is take your concealer and just add it where the shadow is. Don't put it on top of like the puff. And this will kind of highlight the shadow and make it a little brighter. And then when you do this, I recommend just using your finger to pat it in because you don't want it super blended where that highlight kind of goes away. So this trick is just for if you have very puffy morning eyes. So now if you want to really brighten that area and highlight it without having to use that light concealer, then a great product, and this is the best under eye setting powder ever, is the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. The reason why it's so good is it really does brighten without having that mask of white from the concealer, and it is very finely milled, so it doesn't look cakey, especially if you use just a tiny bit. So I know a lot of girls use the sponge and they bake it on, but what that does is it adds too much product and it just cakes up and looks dry and icky. So we're going to use a brush. So the brush I'm using is the Morphe M5208. This is a dense, tapered kind of face blending brush. And so you have two options if you want to use a brightening concealer powder, or we have the Ben Nye Luxury Powder in Cameo. These are great. They're a little bit cheaper and you get a lot more product. Obviously, you have to pick your shade. This one for me is in Cameo. It just adds a slight brightness instead of that ultra bright look. But again, they are very finely milled as well so that they don't cake up and look chunky. You just have to make sure to use a little bit of product. You don't need lots, okay? So as you can see, I just took a little bit and I made sure to dust off the excess and then just pat that on. Don't swipe it because that will budge the product. Just add a little bit and pack it on in very quick, delicate pats. And we're not baking today because that will get cakey and gross. So we are going to dust away any excess we have, even though we didn't apply that much to begin with. So I'm just going to dust away so that there's not any overkill of product. And your last step, of course, is setting your face because this adds more hydration back into your skin and it sets the look as well and takes away a little bit of that powder look. Even though, as you can see, before I set, I'll let you have a look. As you can see, it doesn't look cakey at all. It doesn't look like I have much makeup on at all, and it's not seeped into my fine lines, and it looks very natural. So the setting spray I'm using is the Urban Decay, sorry for that, is the Urban Decay Chill Makeup Setting Spray because it is hydrating. So that is it, you guys. That is how I hide fine lines, wrinkles, dark circles, and puffiness all in one tutorial for mature skin. The end. As always, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.